In this lecture, as usual, I'm going to be talking about you. And I'm going to be talking about a very interesting part of your body called the gastrointestinal tract. Your gastrointestinal tract is about 8 meters long. It starts at the mouth and it ends up at the other end. And we're going to have a look at what happens to the food on the plate, to break it down to microscopic little particles that then can get absorbed into the blood. And tomorrow morning, in the lecture on the liver, we're going to have a look at what happens when it gets into the blood. But in this lecture, we're going to look at the fascinating process that breaks that food that you're probably dreaming about, that you had Sunday lunch, to microscopic little particles, absorb it into your blood. And all the food goes into the mouth. So the mouth is the first organ of digestion. The mouth is the only area that we have say over when it goes in, we have say over what goes in, we have say over the environment surrounding when it goes in. We also have say over how long it's actually in the mouth. And we also have say over how often it goes in. So this is basically the only area that we have total say over. The mouth's pH is an alkaline pH, and there are only 2 food groups that are broken down in the mouth. A lot of people don't even realize that anything starts its breakdown in the mouth. The enzyme that's released in the mouth that breaks down starch is called ptyalin. And ptyalin is what's often called a salivary amylase. The salivary amylase breaks down starch. It doesn't totally break it down. As you'll see as we go down the journey, it begins the breakdown. When children are born, they have no teeth and they have no salivary amylase. And the first teeth children have when they're, or develop, usually at around the age of 7, 8, 9, 10 months, 11, 12 months of age, are 4 top teeth and 4 bottom teeth. And those teeth are called milk teeth. Do you know why? That's all baby should have, is milk. But it's also taste time. That's a good time to let your baby have a stick of celery to have a little suck on. Maybe a little bit of apple in a net bag to have a suck on. Maybe a little bit of cucumber to suck on. Maybe a little bit of steamed bean to suck on. It's taste time. And when baby is slowly introduced to food like that, it gives their gut time to adjust to the new flavourings coming in. The next teeth that come through are the molars. Now the molars come through back here. Molars grind. And when the molars are fully through, then ptyalin is released by the glands in the mouth, and ptyalin breaks down starch. You see, what we grind, that is your grains. So until the molars are there, baby should not have any grain. And what's the first food that mothers are told to give baby as a rule? Cereal, pure starch. And when it goes into the baby's mouth, it usually comes straight out. Because until the baby has teeth, and even when the baby has teeth, because my babies were breastfed for several years, they suck with their tongue and their top lip. That comes down. So when this slop, you know, the pharynx goes in, baby automatically goes like that. And you know what happens to the pharynx? It pops straight out the mouth again because of that action. So the mother scoops it up and puts it back in again. Have you ever seen mothers do it? Scoop it up, put it back in. It defies reason to me. It just defies reason. You know, children should not be eating till they can sit, till they can feed themselves, until they've got teeth to chew it with. And when children are given slop, you know, they can get to even 3, 4, 5 and they won't eat anything unless it's slop. But when children are given solid food, like what I was saying, when they can sit and suck on it, their little teeth at the front make little chews. My 10-month-old granddaughter Esther, we're all having dinner together, It was cold, and we're in Tasmania, so we put a big sheet on the floor in the lounge room where the fire was, and we ate there. And what does our little girl want to do? They're very social, aren't they? But she's only got 3 teeth. She can sit, she can feed herself, but she's only got 3 teeth. My daughter said, "Mum, what'll we do?" I said, "Give her a steamed green bean," because that was part of our meal. Oh, she was so happy. She thought she was doing exactly what we were doing, and you know, in 20 minutes, half an hour, by the time we'd finished, she'd eaten 1 centimetre. And there were little bits of food all around her where she'd chewed little bits off with her 3 teeth. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. And it's not until the molars are fully through that the glands in the mouth now release ptyalin, which will break down starch. So I didn't give any of my babies any starch until they had a good set of teeth. My son James is 39, and he didn't eat any solid food till he was 16 months of age. Now, you never hear of such a thing. A lot of parents want to see what will happen. And by the way, whatever you give my little granddaughter Esther, she will eat. So how come babies become fussy? Do you think Esther would be happy with a celery stick if she tasted ice cream? Chocolates? Huh? Sweet biscuits? No. You see, parents dictate the tastes of their children. Sorry, but they do. Because you look at a little crawling baby, they'll eat anything they find. If they find a caterpillar, they'll eat it, huh? So where does the fussiness come from? So it is starch that begins its breakdown in the mouth, as long as you've got all your molars. The other food is a saturated fat. Saturated fat begins its breakdown in the mouth. Saturated fat is a combination of short and medium chain fatty acids. And underneath the tongue there are sublingual glands, and they release lingual lipase. And lingual lipase is the enzyme that breaks down the saturated fat. So saturated fat is unique in that the breakdown begins in the mouth. That's the only digestion that happens in the mouth. But something very important also happens in the mouth, and that's chewing. We've got teeth for a reason. We should chew until our food is almost a liquid. And then the food comes down the esophagus through this little gateway here called the cardiac sphincter and into the stomach. So the stomach is the next organ of digestion, and the stomach is not an alkaline environment, it is an acid environment, and it's very important that it be an acid environment. You see, the folds that line the stomach are like this, and they are lined with gastric glands, and 2/3 of those gastric glands release mucus. And what that does is that provides a thick mucosal wall protecting the stomach about what is released in here. Now what's released here is pepsinogen, and the other enzyme that's released there is hydrochloric acid. Now in an acid environment, pepsinogen and hydrochloric acid unite to release pepsin. And pepsin is the enzyme that breaks down protein. So the only food that's broken down in the stomach is protein, and it's broken down by pepsin. Hydrochloric plays a very important role. You see, hydrochloric acid not only unites with pepsinogen to release pepsin that breaks down the protein, but hydrochloric acid is antifungal, antibacterial. So if any fungus or yeast or bacteria happens to be on the food we're eating, if you've got nice strong hydrochloric acid, it basically annihilates it. And you can see why God meant this union to happen here, because if pepsin was here, pepsin could start breaking down the lining of the stomach. Something also is released here, and that's the intrinsic factor. The intrinsic factor is very important for the absorption of B12. So let me give you the B12 story. Let's pretend that this is B12. In food, B12 is bound up with an R protein.